Okay, let's set the stage. You were in a long-term relationship. It could have been a marriage. It just could have been a long-term dating relationship. And now it's over. And you know what? It sucks. It really sucks. There's going to be fear. There's going to be pain. There's going to be anxiety and the feeling that this is never going to be over. Well, I'll tell you one thing right now. It is. Eventually you'll get past this and you will become a better person because of this experience. Your life is going to be better on the other side of this. I've got 11 tips for how to get through a long-term relationship breakup. And I'm also going to be talking about expectations, what you can expect from the process and what it's going to feel and look like as you go along. And the one thing that I absolutely promise you is it will not last forever. You will feel good again someday. That's a guaranteed. The only question is when. Let's start off with one of the expectations. About how long will this last? How long will this grieving process, this mourning process, and the pain last? At an absolute maximum, the very longest it will last is half the length of the relationship. So if you were in a 5-year relationship, this is not going to last more than 2.5 years. If you were in a 10-year marriage, this won't last more than 5 years. But there's many, many things we can do to shrink that time down by orders of magnitude and help you get through this much more quickly. It's not going to be overnight. It will take some work, but we'll get you there. We'll get you to feeling good and on the other side. My story, I was in a 22-year marriage that ended very suddenly. We divorced and it was hard. It was really hard. But you know what? I got through it. And I'm so glad I did because I ended up meeting the perfect person for me, my ideal partner. And I'm in a second marriage and I never thought I could be this happy. So let's get into this. Let's start you down that road of recovery and get you on the path to feeling good again. Tip number 1, talk. Talk to your friends and family, talk to your support group, talk on Facebook, get it out, express yourself, get those feelings out. Your friends and family don't want to see you suffer. They'll do anything they can to help you through this process, and they want to have purpose. They want to help you. They really do. So use them, talk to them, express your feelings, get it out of you. Don't bottle up what you're feeling right now. When I went through this process, I talked to friends and family over and over. And here's the thing, is I didn't just bring up a topic once. I needed repetition. I needed a lot of discussing of the same point, sometimes in minute detail, just to understand what happened. Not only was I able to take a load off of my shoulders, but by talking, I came to the realization that no matter what I had done in that first marriage, there was no way I could have fixed it. There was, of course, regret. There were second thoughts. I was doubting myself. But by processing it, especially with people that had an outside view, I saw more clearly what was going on, and I realized it never would have worked, no matter what I did. We were just simply incompatible. So get those feelings out. Talk to people. Talk to your friends. Talk to your family. They want to be there for you. And don't feel bad about repeating the same topic. Tip number 2, remove all reminders of that person from your life. Pack up their stuff. Take away photos, at least for now. Get everything that reminds you of them out of your life. And the reason is twofold. Not only will having that stuff around you trigger memories and make you think of them more often and delay the process, but also by seeing those things around you and continuing to think of that person, you're keeping those cells in your brain that store those memories alive. You're causing them to fire, to maintain strong connections, and to basically not separate over time, which leads to less and less memories. And as a side benefit, by removing everything in your life associated with your ex-partner, you create a vacuum that you can then fill with your own things. You can make your space yours. You can build up your life and fill it with the things that you love, that you enjoy. You can bring in new pieces of art. You can bring in new pictures, new paintings, new photographs, whatever you want. And this tip isn't limited just to physical items. I also mean, don't look at them on social media. Don't see photographs of them online. It's just going to keep those memories alive and strong. And here's something that I absolutely loved to do after my breakup, and it helped out so much. I made a point of listening to the music that my ex hated. It felt so good. And I was able to open up an entire new genre of music that helped distract me and help me get past where I was in the past. So try different things. Get rid of their stuff, fill and replace it with your stuff. Make your space yours. Tip number 3, seek therapy, seek professional help. After my divorce, I ended up seeing a psychiatrist and 2 counselors. Think of it this way. When you see a therapist, when you see a counselor, you're hiring an advocate for your mental health and happiness. You're hiring someone that's got your back and wants only for you to feel better. That's all they want. And they will be there as much as you need them to. And they will have insights that friends and family won't have. They'll have tips, they'll have techniques, they'll have many things that you can't even think of on your own to help you move beyond the breakup. My counseling sessions were invaluable and was one of the most important things that I did after my divorce. Forget about the stigma of mental health. That's old school. There's a much wider acceptance of receiving counseling and therapy, and if necessary, pharmaceuticals to stabilize you and to build you up into a better person. Go down that road. Please seek therapy. It works. I can't swear enough by it. Tip number 4, engage in self-care. A lot of it. Now, we always hear about self-care, about, go to the gym, go running, go do this, go read a book. But what does this look like after, say, a divorce or a breakup in a long-term relationship? It's going to take on a slightly different form than what you've heard before. Here, self-care means always being on the lookout for things that bring you happiness and bring you joy, doing more of that, and not being afraid to let go of the activities that you no longer enjoy. When you've broken up from a long-term relationship or a marriage, it's a sea change in so many different aspects of your life. You may no longer enjoy doing things by yourself that you did with your partner. There may be certain activities that you just simply can't do because it reminds you too much of them. That's fine. Don't do those anymore. Go out and try them, but if it doesn't stick, if you don't enjoy it, drop it. Don't be afraid to drop it like an old shoe. But the one thing you should do is for every activity you no longer do, try one new activity that you've never done. What we want to do in this step is help you to create your own activities, your own hobbies, and your own passions, and basically your own source of happiness for yourself. Just as a tip for what to expect if you do try doing the things that you and your ex used to do, it's going to be very uncomfortable the first time you do it again. The second time you do it again, it's going to be mildly uncomfortable. But the third and every time you do it after that, it's going to be very easy and you won't think of them at all. So just remember, let's say you guys always went to a certain grocery store together. The first time you walk into that grocery store by yourself, it's going to be hard and it's going to hit you like a tidal wave. Don't worry. That's normal. The next time you go in, that's going to be much less. It's going to be much easier to do it by yourself. And over time, the more you do it, the less you associate that experience with your relationship. And it will become more of your own thing, more of your own personal experience. And it'll get easier and easier. Tip number 5, and this was something I learned on my own, something one of my therapists helped me with. It works tremendously well. It does not do anything at first, but over time, the more it builds up, the more it helps. And now it is one of the most effective tools that I have. It is repetition of mantras. And what I mean by that is pick a phrase that you can say easily and quickly to yourself when things aren't going well. My phrase was, I will be okay no matter what. I will be okay no matter what. And I would repeat that. And this isn't going to work at once. It's not going to work immediately. But the more you do it, the greater the effect it has. And now, for me, it's one of my most powerful tools. Yes, it did take about 500, 1,000 times before it started to have any effect. And I don't mean all at once. This was spread out over days and weeks. But now, when I say the phrase, I will be okay no matter what, I start to feel better instantly. So pick a phrase, something easy, something simple to remember that you can say to yourself when times aren't going well. And use that phrase and repeat it over and over and over again until you start to break out of that funk. Pick something like, my life is going well, or I am happy, or things couldn't be better now. You will be telling yourself that, and you'll be telling yourself that, and over time your brain will become conditioned to believe that. Repeat it as many times as you need, because one of the nice things is you can never wear these phrases out. They don't lose their effectiveness with use. In fact, it's the opposite. The more you use them, the more effective they become. Tip number 6, learning. You want to learn as much as from what you went through as you possibly can. That was a very valuable experience that you had that taught you a lot about long-term relationships. And by analyzing it and by learning it from what happened, you can set yourself up to be in a better relationship next time. You can set yourself up to be with a much better partner. Because here's the thing, none of us were born with the knowledge of how to handle a long-term relationship or a specific system for how to pick a life partner. But by going through it, that's how we learn. So in this step, read books, watch YouTube videos, talk to counselors, do as much as you can to learn about relationships. This helped me a lot. It helped me very much. You can predict the future by looking at what happened in the past. So if you have been in at least 1, 2, 3 long-term relationships, the odds are you're going to be in one again. So why not make this next one the one that sticks, the one that lasts, the one that brings you happiness for the rest of your life? And if you look at your previous relationships and figure it out and put together the pieces of what worked and what didn't, you're going to have much better chances of getting the next one just right. So learn as much as possible. Tip number 7. And here we're going to start talking about expectations. Tip number 7 is you have to have the right expectation to move forward. That way you're not going to be disappointed and you will still have clear goals in sight to help you move along down this road. So some of the expectations are, do not expect to feel better tomorrow morning. It's just simply not going to happen. You will feel better much more quickly the more effort you put into this. So expect the more work you do, the faster and more quickly this will resolve. Don't look at progress on a day-to-day basis. Look at it on a week-to-week or month-to-month basis. If you look at it every day, you're not going to see progress and you're going to feel miserable and you're going to think you're stuck and not getting through it. But I promise you, week by week or month by month, you will feel better and you will get past this. Also, expect there to be ups and downs. Some days you will be feeling better, some days you won't. You'll have reversals. There's a tendency for people to work and pull themselves up to a certain point where they plateau. Then after they reach that plateau, they stop putting effort into it because they feel good enough. And if that's the case, they either stay at that plateau or they start to drop down again in terms of overall wellness. I encourage you to realize there will be points when you're feeling good, but don't let that be the end point until you're past this. And you'll know when you're past this. You'll feel it. But don't say, oh, I haven't thought about that person in 6 hours or 6 days. I must be over this part of my life. That's probably not going to be it. You've probably reached a plateau point. So remember, keep putting effort into this. Don't let those plateaus give you false hope or feel like a stopping point. Tip number 8, and this is one of the shortest tips, but one of the most powerful. That is, always remember there's someone better out there for you. After you're done with this recovery process, you will find someone and enter into a much better relationship than you ever could have dreamed of. You will have much more happiness and much more satisfaction from what's coming down the road and what awaits you next than where you've been. In my case, this was 1000% true. That better person is out there. Tip number 9. Now this tip is directed towards helping you in the moment. Let's say you're walking along, you have a really just huge downturn of emotion, maybe a panic attack, maybe an intense experience of depression. Well, here's some things you can do to break out of that, and it's going to help you feel better right away, right now. First, if you're at a desk, get up and try to go for a walk. Go anywhere. If you're at home, go to your kitchen, go outside. If you're in an office, walk down to the break room. Just anything to break you out of that current situation and where you are in the moment. Second, if you are able to, the ideal thing is to go outside and go for a nice 20, 30-minute walk. Now on this walk, practice an observational technique to help distract you from what's currently going on in your mind. You're going to use each of your senses. Begin with your vision and identify 5 separate things that you can see around you. For example, you can see a cloud in the sky. You can see a tree. Perhaps you can see the sidewalk in front of you. Maybe there's someone right next to you. You can see that person. After you've identified 5 things that you can see, try to identify 5 things that you can hear. Maybe you can hear the wind rustling through the trees. Perhaps you can hear an automobile going by. Just anything. Just work your way through 5 different sounds and identify that sound and then move on to the next. And then the same thing if you can smell 5 different things. That might be a little bit more difficult, but try your best. And then finally, if you can feel 5 different textures or surfaces. Once you get through that, repeat it. But this time, try to identify 4 separate things that you didn't identify the first time. And the same with smell, the same with touch, and the same with hearing. Then after that, repeat it again and drop down to 3, and then finally, then 2, then 1. Now, once you've got down to 1, where you identify 1 thing you can see, 1 thing you can hear, 1 thing you can smell, 1 thing you can touch, if you're still not feeling good, if you're still in that dark place, repeat it. Repeat the whole observation exercise again, and start off looking for 5 new things then work your way down to 4, 3, 2, 1, and continue to repeat that until the logjam is gone and you're feeling happy again. Tip number 10, look for and believe in something greater than you. Turn towards a higher power. If you're religious, turn to your religion. If you're not, look towards the nature of the universe. Look towards good karma. And the idea is to build up a faith in something that's larger than you, something that's greater than you, that you know will take care of you over time, because it will, whether that be religion, whether that be karma, whether that just simply be Mother Earth, the Gaia theory, just anything. There's a greater power out there that has control over your life and is going to look after you over time. Personally, I turn towards Buddhism. Now, Buddhism is technically a philosophy of the mind. It's not a religion, but it can coexist with religious principles. The two fit very well together. From Buddhism, I learned many things that helped me control my emotions and didn't let my mind run away with my feelings. And I was able to curb the negative thoughts. It took practice, it took time, but I found it to be very helpful, much more so than I thought when I first began to study. Then, in addition, I find that a lot of the Buddhist principles carried over into other aspects of my life that I still rely on to this day to improve my existence. So I encourage you to go out and find and study and have faith in a higher power. That will take you quite a ways in knowing that something's out there bigger than you that's watching out for you. Tip number 11, treat this as a part-time job. Identify and realize that it's not going to happen passively. You have to set aside time every day, literally every day, to work on this, even just for 10, 15 minutes, or perhaps an hour or two, however much you need. Now, the best way to do this is to set aside a certain block of time in the morning, afternoons, evenings, whatever works best for you, and say to yourself, I'm going to repeat my mantra for 10 minutes, or I'm going to read several chapters of a self-help book, or I'm going to watch a TED Talk about getting over breakups. Just anything, as long as it's consistent, that you put in that effort day after day, and you are working towards making yourself feel better. You could also journal, create a journal of how you're feeling. Create a calendar where, this is what I did, in the calendar every day I would write down my depression level, my anxiety level, my overall happiness level, and on a scale of 1 to 10, I just write down numbers in each of those columns. And I was able to track over time my very slow and gradual, but steady and constant improvement. So whatever that is, whatever your outlet is, do it every day. It will make a huge difference down the road. Finally, number 12, and this is not a tip, but it's more of a looking up point. It's a realization that gave me tremendous hope, and I found to be completely true after the process was over. And that is, when you find the perfect person to be with, and that person will be out there, they'll be waiting for you when you're ready. You could not be with that partner, and you could not be in a high quality, great relationship unless you had gone through this breakthrough. And by that I mean, in order to be the person that you will be in the future, you have to take every single step that you're going through now, because every step now will give you the life experience, will mold your character, will give you the robustness to be that person in the future, unless you're going through what it is that you're going through right now. And yes, the pain and suffering is tremendous. I've been there. It hurts. But this is going to make you stronger and make you ready to have that fantastic relationship when the time is right. So keep your chin up. Know that what is happening to you right now is for a purpose, a greater purpose. And in the end, your life is going to be fantastic. Your relationship is going to be fantastic. If you go through the process, work through this, learn what you need to do, you're gonna be so happy down the road. You really are. Okay, guys. Well, hey, thank you for watching. Please leave any questions you may have down below. I'm happy to answer those, help out in any way I can. Please subscribe to the channel so you can keep receiving more content. And I hope you have a great day. Don't worry, this won't last forever. Hang in there. Best of luck. And the suffering will end someday. I promise you it will. It's just a matter of time. All right, everyone. Good luck.